This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Action Movie Guys podcast, episode 275. We are starting a brand new franchise. We're starting some Marvel X-Men. So we're going to start it off with X-Men 2000. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa. My co-host is
Nate from Nate Flicks Reviews.
And we have a special guest in this episode. We got one of our Patreons, right?
Yeah.
One of our fans on Geeks and Flicks. We got Scott. How you doing, buddy?
Great. Glad to be here. Super fun, super excited.
Our number one fan, gotta be. He's heard every single episode since like the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
He's been around
you guys
since
keep
the
me
beginning.
going at work.
Yeah. He has to be the first guest. He was like the one, well,
Yeah.
I mean, Jay was technically, but this is different.
Yeah.
Jay had a special Patreon episode. So you had to be our first regular guest on a regular episode.
Yeah, so throughout the year, you guys are going to hear some different voices as our special guests. We're going to bring in some of our fans onto the show. They pick one franchise and then, of course, one solo film. They have fun with us, and then we have fun with them. So with that said, let's start off with some X-Men, right? Their budget was $75 million, right? Grossed a worldwide of $296 million. To start it all off, entire franchise. So, Nate, what do you think of those financials?
Pretty good, because this was before all these other comic book movies. So there was literally Batman in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And then the last one was like Batman and Robin before like this, as far as big tentpole comic book films. Also, that's like, this was 2000, I think, right? So that's 200 and something million in 2000 money. So it was probably close to like maybe 400, 500 now. So yeah, I think it was not surprising that it was a hit. I remember it being a pretty solid hit.
Yeah, Scott, what do you think of those financial numbers?
Yeah, it's definitely a hit. It kicked in the door for this franchise. I've only seen X-Men 1 and 2, and the rest of them I've never seen before. So, yeah, I know they just kept going and going and going. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it started a successful franchise.
All right.
This is going to be a fun month for you. This
Yeah.
episode.
You got to rewatch them all. But yeah, with that said, let's check out what the critics and the audience have to say about X-Men from 2000.
Oh, baby. Pretty good. Pretty good. This got a double good score and
Okay.
pretty close. Only 1% different. 82% critics and an 83% audience. So came out the gates, well reviewed, well liked, and made money. I mean, you can't really ask for much more to kick off a franchise.
Those are not
Oh,
bad numbers, dude. It actually not bad. But this is the first one. So now the question really is, does it still hold up after all these years, after 23 years later? Does X-Men from 2000 still hold up? So we're going to answer that with our reviews.
Well,
okay?
Scott already answered this question
Yeah.
as far as he's only seen the first two and none of the others.
Yeah.
Alex, what is your like experience with this franchise? Have you seen them all?
I've seen them all. In the
Okay, is it
theater.
a franchise you enjoy?
Well, I like X-Men. I always like the X-Men. I mean, they're not like the MCU style, right? Like that changed everything. But with these X-Men, to me, it felt more, it's like my DC of the Marvel universe at the time, right? It was darker, it was grittier. Some of the stories are very darker. So I kind of like that. But I enjoyed them all. Some of them are clunkers. We're going to get to clunkers. But I did enjoy them, and I did see all of them in the theater. So that's the good.
Ooh, okay. This is a good franchise. You saw
Yeah,
all
it's
of
a
them.
good one,
I
yeah.
also saw every single one of these in the theater. I am a fan of the franchise. Like you said, I would say I put it this way. Some are better than others. I think the worst one we've already done with the Origins Wolverine, like that is the worst like X-Men property in my opinion. But some of these with the full team, some are better. They range from mediocre to great in my opinion.
Well, they're more like jalapeno peppers. They got the weak, right? And then you got the mild,
smoke.
and then you got the reaping.
The Reaper Ghost
The
Carolina Reaper pepper.
Yeah, so the X-Men is like that. They're really good, then it goes mild, and then really whack. Like you're just like, this is really bad. But so let's start it all off. Let's start it off with the lead character. Well, really it's Rogue and Wolverine, but let's just do the entire X-Men.
Yeah, score them
because-
as a whole.
As a whole, yeah, with that said. All right, Scott, you're going to start it all off with the entire X-Men, Professor X and all of them. So what score
The
you give them?
entire X-Men. Well, I actually only scored Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
That's fine.
But
It's okay.
That's okay.
because
Yeah, that's
they
fine.
kind of just focused on him the entire time. He was the only guy you saw alone and everything. Right off the bat, I gave him a 5 because, I mean, he's Wolverine. He's Hugh Jackman. He's meant to play the role. I mean, it's like casting somebody else as Han Solo. It just don't work.
Okay.
It's got to be him. It's got to be him. Yeah, so 5, loved him. The only parts I didn't like about him where he had that kind of James Bond sort of weird vibe with Jean Grey. He was just like, yeah, it's like, you want to see in my mind? And she's just like, no. And he's like, why? You going to like it? And I'm just like, what the hell is happening here? But yeah, 5 for me. So
yeah, when he went in the tube, he's like, oh, you're just trying to get my shirt off again, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what the hell? I don't remember that.
I gave him a 4. I gave them a 4. I did score kind of the team now, but let me tell you where I'm coming from with this. I love the X-Men franchise. Outside of Hulk, as an individual, like the X-Men is my next favorite sort of Marvel property. I just think that they got some of the characters better than some of the other ones. Like, I think Cyclops kind of got the shaft. I think maybe I did score them as a whole, like Alex, like you had said. I think Hugh Jackman is great as Wolverine. Again, perfect casting. I like him in this movie. I don't love Rogue. I do not love the way that they got her power right technically, but they got a lot of other stuff incorrect. Yeah. And Anna Paquin, she's a good actress, but I don't love her in this film. That's not to say that it won't change, but I think Professor X was perfect. Patrick Stewart, perfect. Famke Janssen as Jean Grey, perfect. I don't have a problem with that one. James Marsden is not a bad Cyclops choice, but I don't like how they did Cyclops either. He's kind of And Halle Berry, probably one of the most famous out of all of them. I just feel like she's got the short end of the stick a lot. Like Scott mentioned, it was Wolverine-centric and kind of Marie Rogue. So I gave him a 4. I do think other points in this franchise, this score will go up. But right out the gate, it's a strong 4.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 4. As an ensemble, 4. I do agree it's a Wolverine. I mean, you know what it is that since Wolverine is the lovable out of all of them, he's like the marquee guy, so they had to go with him. I understand. I do give him a 5 too, but as a team, I had to go with a 4. And look, I get what you guys are saying. I mean, Scott got with the Wolverine. I understand what you're saying, Nate, with the entire thing. But for me, I think there was a lot of miscasts, even with the X-Men. I think Jean Grey is perfect. I think she's great. I think she's hot. I was like, holy crap. Then Cyclops. I like Cyclops. I think he was good. It's just that the script was not good for my boy Cyclops.
Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed. I think he was perfect as Cyclops. They just did not do nothing. When he shot, I got mad at him. Every time he shoots the out through blast, I'm like, yeah, baby. And he's like mad foo-foo. Because it's like all the little ass shots. And I was like, ah. Anyway, Wolverine, great. I did not like Rogue too. I agree with you. I don't like Rogue. I think she should have been an adult, more an adult in this one than a teenager. When it comes to Storm, I do not like Halle Berry. And I'm going to say right now, she is the weakest link out of all of them. One, we all know she's African. She's going to lose it. Her accent is going to be gone and become an American by like the second movie, I believe. And the thing is, I think the miscast happened because I still believe in my heart that I would have casted Angela Bassett as Storm, because she's at the age. Better. Yeah, she would have been at the age of Rogue. I mean, Jean Grey in the movie. So she would have been an adult, white hair. She actually could talk that language. So I mean, that she will have the accent really heavy. So for me, Storm would have been Angela Bassett all the way, and people would have loved her. I did not like Halle Berry. That's the reason why I gave it a 5, though. It's because of Halle Berry. But other than that, everything it fit well. I think this was a perfect cast. I mean,
Patrick
Stewart. I mean,
he's besides Wolverine, he's the one that's like perfect.
Comic page
perfect.
Right onto the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. I agree with that. All right, so we got 2 4s. We got a 5 with Wolverine. All right, main villain, we got Magneto, Sabretooth, Toad. I mean, and Mystique. Toad. Oh my God. Mystique. All right, Nate. Go with the Mystique, bro.
God.
I mean, Mystique. See, I got Mystique in my mind.
I give Mystique a 3. No. All right, villain, my man, Ian McKellen as Magneto. I gotta give him the old 5. I'm sorry. I love him in this movie. I love his backstory. And the best scene in the beginning, when they're at the concentration camp in Germany, the Nazis, and he's getting separated from. That is filmed and looks like it's from not a comic book movie at all. Alex, I think that's to your point as far as that kind of edgier, darker you know, that is like one of the darkest moments in history, human history. And then they have it in this comic book film, but they still added that little edge, you know, because he can move the fence and all that. I love that scene. It does so much to inform you of that character before you meet him as an old man. And then Ian McKellen's he's one of the best actors. It cannot be overstated. So I love him in this because he's a little bit sarcastic. Like he's kind of an ass, you know? He's like, you know, he makes these comments constantly throughout. And at the end of the day, his plan was to literally turn mad people into mutants, turn everybody into mutants. Because if they're all mutants, then they can't hunt us and kill us pretty much. So, and there's moments where you could kind of, and this I think helps for a villain, moments where you can almost side with him. Like you can understand why he feels the way he does. And when you can make a villain relatable, it makes it ultimate. As far as his goons, horrible. I don't like Sabretooth in this. All he does is growl like a lion. Toad is the ugly. I don't know why they picked Toad. I love the actor. Like I love Ray Park. My man Darth Maul. Good choice, but horrible. And Mystique is, especially with what happens in the later movies, like this doesn't make any sense. But Rebecca Romijn is hot, I guess. So
I really like there's no guess. She's hot.
Yeah, but she's blue. Yeah, but like I'm not into blue people. But
I'm into blue.
Nice
After X-Men, I'm into blue.
So anyway, I give the goons like a 2, but Magneto I scored a 5.
Okay, cool. Scott, what do you give the villains?
Yeah, I did score Magneto. That's who I focused on.
Cool.
Definitely gave him a 5. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's powerful. He gave him a hell of a lot of problems. I mean, it took all of them to take him down. He's super powerful. He's everything you want in a villain, so I gave him a 5.
Yeah, I mean, I put everybody, but I mean, I go with the Magneto with everybody. I gave Magneto a 5 too. To me, I'm so used to the 90s cartoon Magneto that he's mad buff with the white hair. Remember that
comic
dude?
book version.
Yeah, I like the comic book version of him. But then when I saw him, he was like 90. I was like, what? But it was all right. I'm okay with it. In live action, I'm okay with it. Because imagine like someone like in the body of Henry Cavill with the white hair as Magneto. Dude, you'd be like, holy crap. He's like, Charles? Like, I would have been like, yo, this is crazy. No, but I did like him. They had great chemistry. Professor, like you could see that they were friends. Yeah. And I love that one line when he's at the the United Nations, whatever, and he sensed him. He was like, "Just get out of my way, Charles." I was like, yeah. I was like, that reminded me a lot because like people gotta understand the last time we got X-Men was the 90s cartoon. So for me, seeing these characters come to life, it's awesome. And how do they play off each other? It came perfect like in the cartoon. He's like, get out of my way, friend. Or, you know, you're going to regret it.
I don't want to hurt you, but I will if you don't get out of my way.
Exactly. And then Professor X is like, you're so bad, but I still love you, man. Like, you just need a hug. Like that. Like, that's the cool thing about it. But anyway, I give him a 5. I agree with you. All the other characters are pieces of crap. Like, Sabretooth stinks. After the Origins version of Sabretooth, which I would prefer 100 times than this wrestling-looking Zach
Tyler Mane. The guy who played Rob Zombie's Halloween Michael Myers. That's him.
Oh, that's who he is?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he's not that good. Toad was whack. He has like that. He was just, I didn't like him.
Horrible CGI tone.
Yeah, but Mystique. Oh, my God. She's hot.
My favorite part with Mystique is when she turns into that freaking fake Statue of Liberty.
Oh, with the eyes and she's looking.
Yeah. It's so funny. She's like trying to hide. She just turns into a statue. Oh, my God. That part cracks me up every single time.
I think Mystique, I always liked Mystique, but I always liked her with the dress. Remember the blue dress she wears? Yeah, she has a skull as a belt.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
And the red hair and a gun. Yeah. She has a gun, too. Like, she doesn't even have that.
Yeah, I would have liked that. And her hair was like not red. You know, it wasn't ruby red.
It looked wet all the time.
It did. It looked like they just gelled the shit out of it and dried it, and they were like, all right, let's go. We're good. But yeah, other than that, we gave 5s across the board on this. All right, Scott, action scenes.
Now, action. I gave it a 3.
Oh,
because
here we go.
Your official. Here we go. Your first.
That's it. I love
your first
it.
low score. Let's hear it.
Yes.
It was a 3. It was a 3. It's a shorter movie. There was a lot of introductions to people, so there were short little bursts of action, and then the only big kind of long long action we get is the battle at the end.
Yeah.
So I was like, it could have been better, but they had a lot of introductions to do. So 3 for me.
Look at Scott's been listening
Look at
to us
Scott
for a
coming
long
through
time.
with the solid take. You know what? I'm not even going to add much. I also gave it a 3. I think that the action's well shot, but there's not a lot. I do like the subway station action scene.
Oh,
it's
yes,
pretty
Grand
cool.
Central Station.
Yeah, it's neat, but it's short. And then you have the Statue of Liberty stuff, which is also good, but short. And then you have little bursts, like Wolverine fighting in the cage, but nothing crazy. So I gave it a 3. I think it's well shot, but there's not a lot.
I gotta say, I agree with all of you guys. I gave it a 3. Everything you guys said was actually spot on. To me, it felt very 2000s, the action. It wasn't, it's not like where we up to now. I think if they had the technology we had now and the choreography, I think it would have been so much better. But I think there was some poor choices in some of the action scenes, like the Sabretooth Wolverine in the beginning I didn't like it as much. Like when he came out of the freaking snow, and I was like, wait a minute.
And they didn't know each
him?
other, even though in Origins they're brothers.
Yeah.
See,
to me, that was
talking
weak.
about.
Yeah, that
Sabretooth,
was weak.
How does he not know that's him?
Yeah, that was weird. But then they had some other scenes that were really good, like Magneto stopping all the bullets. Like he was like, Charles, let me go. And then he just shot. I was like, this is awesome. He goes, we could keep going. And I was like, yo, I love this scene. Like, it was so intense. Like, we knew what was going to happen, but it was very intense because he just did the little wink and then the gun fired and it was like the bullet and the guy screaming. I was like, that was pretty cool. But you're right. I mean, the last fight at the end was pretty cool, but there was some stuff with Mystique I didn't like when she was fighting Wolverine. Like when she jumped backwards on the pipe and she went up. I was like, what is that? She could climb walls? Like, I don't even remember that. So I didn't like it. Yes, I gave it a 3 on that. All right, Scott, storyline.
Well, it's going to be another 3 for me. I gave it a 3. Now, it's because it's pretty basic story. We don't have too much in there. You get introductions to characters, but as far as story goes, I mean, he just wants to start a war because they're scared of the mutants and the mutants are fighting back against them. It's kind of a basic superhero story that we've seen before. I mean, same thing with kind of the Avengers and all that stuff. They're causing so much damage and blah, 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 blah. We need to register them and all this stuff. Yeah. So pretty basic, pretty similar. So 3 for me.
Well, just for that, I'm going to give it a 4. Not just for that. Not just because you gave it a 3, but for your exact, this happened way before the Avengers. They did it first. The whole registration thing. I love it. This is a very sort of grown up storyline for a comic book action figure selling movie, and then there's always the whole comparison to and it's always been there as far as gay people and how, especially at the time it was written, X-Men, if you know that sort of base of where it started from. Yeah. And I think they did a great job. Honestly, I think that this movie has a really solid story. It's more story and character driven. I think they did a good job of explaining this is who's good and why, this is who's bad and why. And then they did a good job of making you decide how would you feel about it. If there was people who can, the stupid politician guy who turns into freaking ooze is hilarious too. That part's funny too. Hey, this girl can walk through walls. What's to stop her from walking into a bank vault and just taking the money and leaving? I was like, that's a good point. But then his comparisons, and then Jean Grey is like, yeah, but you can't register. They can register for a gun, but you can't register someone to live. And I was like, that's a good point too. So I feel like they make some really good points. But the reason it's not a 5 is because I agree with Scott in the sense that it is sort of a simplified version of that. It could have been a 5, but I gave it a 4.
Yeah, I mean, this one, I agree with Scott on this one. I gave it a 3. I thought it was good for me. I thought it was good. It was a decent comic book. I think it was a good start to a franchise, right? You got the humans hating on the mutants saved the day at the end. So you're like, okay, cool. For me, I just think everything in between for me was just a little, I don't know, just so you got the too much Logan. I think it was too much Logan without the X-Men stories. It was concentrating way much on him losing his memory, and then you have him running around the school, which I think they could have told that so much better with the beginning of them showing the Xavier school. Like they show that act, right? Like the whole beginning with the politician versus Jean Grey. Then they could be they show Magneto talking to Scott, remember when you opened the school, and then they go back in time and you see Scott and Jean as kids learning all the original X-Men. I think they could have told that better instead of Wolverine running all over the place and then they had to throw all look, it's Kitty Pryde here. There's Iceman over there. So I was like, yeah, but Iceman was the original X-Men. So why is he a teenager in this movie? So for me, there's certain things that I was just like, but in terms of the movie itself, I thought it was a good, solid start to the franchise. But I agree with your 4, though. I think in terms of the message, I think it was a great message, and they pulled it off very well. Because you know what? The shit is happening as we speak. What's happening in X-Men 1. If you really think
This was 23 years old.
23 years ago, they were talking about now it's registration for everything. I mean, so pretty much it was ahead of its time. So, all right, 2 3s, 1 4. All right, Nate, overall,
it's a 4 for me. I think this is a really good movie. It's not my favorite X-Men movie. Spoiler alert for the rest of this coming up. It's not my favorite one. But I do think as far as a first film goes, it's really strong. It has a good cast. I know you don't like Halle Berry. I do think she's the weakest of the people in here. But, I mean, she feels like the casting that was there for, like, name more than acting. But she is gorgeous, though. I do think she does a little bit better in some of the other movies, but yeah, not the best casting. Everyone else, though, I thought is a great casting. Anna Paquin, also not good. You're right. I don't like young Rogue. I wish she was an adult, like how she was in the cartoon. She was like sassy and southern, and Gambit. Yeah, Gambit was always trying to get with her. And, you know, I love that. I like that Rogue. And I get why they changed it. Like, she got in the comic, I think she got her powers from, like, Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel or something. So she's obviously not in this. So all she does is touch people and then get captured and stuff. Like, she's just there.
Yeah, but she has super strength and flying. In the cartoon, that's what I remember.
She got that from, she touched Captain Marvel. And so she was able to fly and have, she touched it for a long time and kept those powers. Oh. So in this version of her, she doesn't do any of that. So she just kisses boys and, like, gets stabbed by Wolverine. Yes, great villain. It's a 4. I think this is a really solid movie, and it looks great in 4K, by the way. I was like, what the heck? I didn't think it was going to look that good. Liked it. 4.
All right, Scott.
Oh, I agree with Nate fully. It's a 4. It's a strong kick in the door to 23 years worth of Marvel movies and all that sort of stuff. Solid film. I enjoyed it and found a new love for it watching it, you know, all these years later, because I hadn't seen it since, like VHS back in the day.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
Yeah. If you ask me, have you seen the first X-Men movie? I'd be like, that's the one where Sabretooth pulls Wolverine out of the truck in the snow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember.
With the big jizz bubble at the end, right? Yes.
The slushy politician. But yeah. It's a 4 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It was a 4. You know what's funny? Watching this movie, I had a blast watching it because I didn't like this one. Like, I'm going to be really honest with you. When we said we're going to start X-Men, I was like, oh, man, this first one's going to be crap. And I literally sat there and I was like, I kind of like this, man. The only thing that the movie was missing, bro, is the X-Men theme.
Oh, I know.
I don't like this new one. And you know what? The cartoon theme.
Oh, my. It sounds like it's going to start a bunch of times and then it doesn't.
And they tease you. Like, I don't know. It was missing that in a lot of points in the movie. And I was just like, wow. But all in all, I agree with Scott. I enjoyed sitting down watching this. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fun. I was like, you know what? This is it's going to be a hell of a ride going through all these movies again, because I really remember, like, the tone of these movies were really dark and stuff, and I enjoyed it. I was like, yeah, I like it. And this movie was fun. If you take away all the crap that we had in between and all the other stuff, I thought it was pretty cool. And Magneto's scene, that he's talking to the politician, was really strong. Mm-hmm. When he was like, now you are going to be looked at like how we get looked at. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, he turned them. I was like, this is awesome.
I love that part too.
Yeah.
I also love when he walks in with Sabretooth, he's mad at him, so he closes the gates. He bumps right into it. Like, he's such an idiot. Oh my God, it makes me laugh. It's so funny.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But yeah, other than that, 4 across the board. Total points, Scott.
That is a 20 out of 25 for me.
Nice.
Wow, same. I have 20 out of 25 as well.
I got a 19 out of a 25. That was 1 point down.
Even though we were all in the ballpark. Some of us were in the same ballpark, and one was in the next door ballpark, but we were all close.
We were all close. All right, Nate, what is coming up next on the podcast?
Oh, baby. All right, next episode, we'll feature Scott again. He'll be back for the next one, and we're going to be wrapping up our comic book movies with no sequels month with a little 2008 film called Wanted. So we'll be doing that movie. And then next week, we have a new guest. He'll be coming on, another one of our patrons and longtime listener, Pablo, and he will be kicking off X-Men 2 with us. X2, or let's call it what it's called. X2, X-Men United. That's the actual name of the movie.
I thought X-Men United was the third one.
No. X-Men: The Last
Last
Stand. is the third
Stand.
one.
Gotcha.
X2,
Yeah.
X-Men United. That's the second. Get it right.
That's
X2.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, you guys want to follow us in our social media accounts? Please follow Nate over Instagram at Netflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and his friends called Netflix Movie Reviews, or head over to the official website at www.geeksandflix.com. Or if you would like to follow Scott, please follow Scott over at Joe Jokers Movies on Instagram. Other than that, I'm your host, Sally Figueroa. My co-host is,
Nate from Netflix Review.
and our special guest is.
Joe Joker's movie, Scott.
There you go.
Be awesome to each other and geek out.